Disaster risk management document now in place. Preliminary violence prevention report received. More NSHP houses delivered. And women celebrated. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Jabertha Atkinson. Welcome. Jamaica now has a disaster risk management document to guide the country's preparedness against shocks. It was received by Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness on Thursday from the Disaster Risk Management Review Committee. Dr. Holness says in recent times, shocks are proving to be more unpredictable, overlapping in nature, more intense and more frequent. As such, the country must be prepared.
Which means that the resources required for recovery from these kinds of events would be far greater than before. So the only way to mitigate against shocks is to be prepared. And the preparedness requires us to be always on top of the systems that we have and to ensure that we have the resources in place.
Dr. Holness says he's hopeful that the report will identify the gaps and make suggestions on how to improve our disaster preparedness. Prime Minister Holness was brought up to date with a preliminary report from the National Commission for Violence Prevention. The presentation was made by Chair of the Commission, Professor Maureen Sams-Vaughan. The 400-page document evaluates 51 violence prevention programs within the country that are at different levels. It includes an executive summary and recommendations, which the Prime Minister will review with members of his cabinet. Once the assessment is completed, a formal announcement will be made to the country on the findings and implementation of the recommendations. Dr. Holness says the objective is to create a comprehensive all-of-society enterprise to engineer a social and cultural transformation of the Jamaican society and culture away from crime and violence.
We know that the level of violence in the society and that people experience almost on a daily basis is not healthy, and that there are well-defined programs and practices that if they were mainstreamed or systemized would have an impact on just the quality of life that people experience.
The National Commission for Violence Prevention was empaneled to develop a 10-year evidence-based national action plan with recommendations for legislative changes and institutional building. The plan will also include governance and best practices around a full national mobilization to control and reduce violence as a feature of the society. Last week, Prime Minister Holness also made an appeal to women to play a more influential role in steering men and boys away from a life of crime and criminality.
Mothers, you are your sons' first teachers. You shape their values, their attitudes, and their understanding of right and wrong. I urge you, talk to your sons. Talk to them.
Dr. Holness points out that the number of young men who are creating the problems in society is no more than 5% of the total cohort.
So, with the help of the mothers, sisters, grandmothers, girlfriends, and friends, if we can reach out to those problem 5%, we can save their lives. And we can put them on a pathway like the thousands of others who are struggling, who are facing the hardship the same way, but have decided that they are not going to engage in crime.
The Prime Minister was reinforcing the objectives of Peace Day on March 4. It's an initiative aimed at fostering a culture of peace and non-violence within educational institutions, homes, and communities. Housing was another top priority for Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness. He broke ground on Friday for the Mount Nelson housing scheme being developed by the National Housing Trust in Manchester. The development will consist of 1,758 housing solutions, which include 1- and 2-bedroom detached units and serviced lots.
This development represents the dreams of families who will soon call this place home and aligns with our administration's commitment to providing safe and affordable houses.
Still in Manchester, Dr. Holness also brought comfort to 3 families by presenting them with keys to their homes. These were delivered under the new social housing program.
This house that you have given to us is not only a roof over our head, but it is our home.
The objective of the program, in addition to efficiency and effectiveness, is to improve dignity.
The strength and resilience of Jamaican women was acknowledged as a reaffirmation of the government's commitment to supporting their empowerment. Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness recognized the 5 women who are a part of his cabinet and other women in government in observance of International Women's Day. He pointed out that 38% of the Senate was comprised of women and 13 of the 17 females in the House of Representatives were in his administration.
It is a demonstration of the progress that the nation has made, particularly by supporting and empowering women. And as Prime Minister, I am proud to stand at the helm of a government that recognizes the vital contributions of women to the success of our country.
And finally, Prime Minister Dr. Andrew Holness says the government will be assisting residents in downtown Kingston who were displaced by recent fires which destroyed their homes. During a tour of the area on Tuesday, Dr. Holness said while he understood the urgency of the situation, several steps needed to be taken before any substantial rebuilding or assistance could occur.
Before we can assist in any meaningful way other than the humanitarian assistance, which is already in train, the building assistance, we have to determine the ownership of the land. That's number 1. And then we have to do some social investigation into the circumstances of the persons to determine the extent to which we can help. All of that we are going to put into train to ensure that we can help the persons dislocated to come back to some form of normalcy.
The victims are from Love Lane in Fletcher's Land, Kingston Western, and also Fleet Street and Lad Lane in Kingston Central. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.